Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today I have 3 stories for you in the rSlash relationship subreddit, so let's dive into it. How do I sack my bridesmaid and end our friendship after her constant inappropriate behavior towards my fiancé? I, 32-year-old female, have a friend who we'll call Penny. I met Penny, 36-year-old female, at work about 3 years ago. We quickly hit it off and became good friends. I was supposed to be getting married January this year, but obviously because of the pandemic, it didn't go ahead. It's now going ahead next January. Penny is one of my bridesmaids. The problem is, I've seriously gone off Penny over the last year. I'm pretty sure she's a narcissist, and boy is she increasingly unpleasant to be around. She needs attention constantly, and I mean constantly. She makes absolutely everything about her, including my bachelorette party. She's a huge show-off, she gloats, she's competitive, the list goes on. She has insisted on taking over from my maid of honor and organizing my bachelorette, and has told her I've demanded things when I haven't because she wants them. However, the main issue is that she acts totally inappropriate towards my fiancé. We both spent some time with her this weekend, and the list of inappropriate comments, touching, and just general behavior is endless. It makes my fiancé feel uncomfortable, and obviously makes me feel angry and upset that she clearly thinks this is okay. She can't bear us to be affectionate towards each other, and she tries to get in between us when we do by trying to physically push her way in, saying she wants a hug because she's happy for us. My fiancé had to tell her to stop. She tried to play footsie with him underneath the table, leaned across and stroked his face, and told him she's missed him. The two have met a handful of times, and my fiancé is very quiet and reserved, so they haven't really spoken much, and my fiancé would not consider her a friend. She tries to hug him, the list goes on. The first time she met my fiancé, she texted me as soon as we got home, saying, "Don't worry, I don't fancy him," which I thought was very strange. She then added him on Snapchat and told me, "If you're wondering what the Snapchat I've sent to him is, don't worry, it's just a normal selfie with my daughter." I said to her, "Why would I wonder what you've sent him?" And she didn't respond. Very bizarre. The second time she met him, he came to pick me up from Penny's house. The second she heard his car pull up in the driveway, she physically pushed me out of the way, ran to his car, flung the door open, and literally jumped on him and hugged him and kissed him. I was so confused. This continuing behavior, coupled with her constant need for attention and validation, is really wearing me down. We're both sick of it, and I find it really disrespectful. I have no idea how to broach this with her, as I'm really terrible at confrontation, and to be quite honest, the thought terrifies me. We also have quite a few friends in common, and I'm worried they'll side with her and think I'm overreacting. Please help me figure out how to sort this. As I mentioned, I work with her, so I don't want things to get too awkward. I'm also quite confident that she will gaslight me and say it's just the way she is with everyone, and my fiancé is one of her best friends, etc. Even though this is definitely not true. Now, if Penny and OP didn't work together, I would immediately say kick her ass to the curb, kick her out of your wedding party, and never speak to her again. But because they do work together and they need to maintain somewhat of a peaceful relationship to avoid awkwardness, this is my advice to OP. It doesn't matter if Penny uses the excuse that she acts this way with everyone, because in most circumstances, others need to cater to people's personalities, and if something is making someone uncomfortable, then it needs to stop. It's like when people say, "I'm a hugger." Yeah, well, not everyone is a hugger, so maybe ask first before entering someone's personal space. So, with that being said, I think OP should just have a calm conversation with Penny, stating that if she doesn't stop acting this way and making her fiancé uncomfortable, then she can't be in the wedding and she can no longer be friends with her. Also, if OP is worried about her other friends taking Penny's side, let them. If they're willing to side with somebody that acts inappropriately with someone else's fiancé, then do you really need them in your life? No. And if they choose her, I hope he just comes out ahead because they're showing her how terrible of friends they are, and she can find new, better friends. My maid of honor just told me she isn't coming to my wedding. How do I handle this without creating resentment? I technically got married last summer, but our celebration got pushed to this fall. I've known my maid of honor for approximately 6 years. Maid of honor and her girlfriend have been together just over 2 years. For background info, I recently found out my pregnancy, 11 weeks along, was not viable, and I had told my maid of honor this. She knew I would be miscarrying soon. Additionally, this week I was dealing with a lot of stress and pressure from family members due to unrelated wedding planning issues I was running into dealing with hotels. So during this especially stressful week, I ended up in the hospital for a few hours due to miscarrying, and the next day called my maid of honor to update her on what happened and my wedding planning issues. Before I was able to get into anything, she says she's sorry, but she isn't coming to the wedding anymore. Says her girlfriend's relative is having a birthday party the same day, and she needs to be there to support her girlfriend since the relative isn't doing so well. Obviously, I've already had a rough week, so I struggled with a response. This isn't exactly the first time she's flaked on me. Usually small stuff like, I can't hang out, I have a huge paper I didn't start yet, and I've helped her through a lot of stuff in the past, and I feel like she's completely ditching me the one time I really need her. I never even had the chance to tell her what I was dealing with, because she went right into telling me she wasn't coming. I was a little flabbergasted at her excuse as well. On one hand, if I just let it be, I feel like I will always hold some resentment at the fact my maid of honor ditched me to go to a birthday party and dropped that on me literally as I was miscarrying. But if I say I'm hurt by her decision and rather she came to my wedding, then I'm the asshole who forced her not to be able to support her girlfriend, and she will probably resent me for that. I don't hate her, I'm just hurt and confused by this decision and lack of support with what's been happening with me. I don't know how to say this without creating some form of resentment or casting of blame or accidentally destroying the friendship. You know when the stars align and the comment section actually has some solid advice? This was one of those times with this comment. My vote would be that right now, it isn't worth the emotional energy required to unfuck this. You can just let it go for now. Focus on your husband, focus on the wedding. Focus on the people who are there to love and support you. Put her nonsense on the shelf. If you still care about it later, you can talk it out when things aren't so important. But you may find that this is just a limp, boring end to a relationship instead of a flashy one. Maybe when it's said and done, you don't really want to fix this all that much anyway. Maybe the boring truth is that she's self-involved and kind of terrible, and that you won't be so mad that it worked out that way. Or, you know, you sit down and talk it out and cry and bond later when the stakes are lower and it works out great. Who knows? But it just doesn't seem like where you need to put your energy right now. Right at this moment, since everything else in your life is more important than a friend who can't figure out how to say, pick literally any other weekend. Which I fully agree with. Sometimes the universe shows you that someone really doesn't care about you at all, and that you need to move on. And I definitely feel like that's one of those times for OP. My 57-year-old male daughter, 32-year-old female, is refusing to speak to me because I went on a trip while she's struggling financially. I have 4 daughters, 2 biological, Sarah and Susie, and 2 stepdaughters, Amy and Annie. My oldest daughter and youngest stepdaughter don't really like each other anymore. They're barely civil, and they completely ignore each other unless they're forced to interact. Sarah is struggling financially. It's partly due to the pandemic, but mostly due to her husband and his lack of work ethic or financial sense. He spends his money faster than they earn it, and we've bailed them out multiple times already. The pandemic has hit me hard financially, so I'm no longer in a position to help them. On the other hand, Annie is married to a wealthy man and has generously been helping everyone, excluding Sarah, financially for the past year. Annie invited my wife and me to join her family at her in-laws' holiday home. She offered to cover all of our expenses, and my wife missed her a lot, so we agreed to go. We didn't really think about how it would make Sarah feel. Sarah found out about the trip and is now furious at me. She thinks I'm lying about not having money to help her, and doesn't believe Annie would pay for it. She's refusing to speak to me, and has told Susie she feels like I replaced them with my stepdaughters. I would really like to fix this, but she continues to ignore any attempt by me to get into contact with her. It sounds to me like we probably don't really know the full story here, and I honestly think the issues with Sarah stem from jealousy of Annie, and perhaps some underlying issues with the relationship that Sarah and her father have. Sarah hasn't dealt with the combining of the two families, and is still acting like a child because of it. She obviously needs some counseling, and I think OP and her should do it together. But regardless of that, it is not Sarah's place to expect money from anyone, nor to tell her parents how to spend their money. She's a grown-ass adult and needs to stop acting like the world owes her, because it doesn't. But these are all just my opinions. If you feel differently about something, definitely leave it in the comments below. I love to hear other people's opinions. And if you did enjoy these 3 relationship stories, please leave a like and subscribe. Apparently only 28% of you are subscribed. That's preposterous. Of course, only subscribe if you want. I do truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!